There is a feeling I want to talk about. You know it well, even if you've never named it. It's the feeling that no matter what you achieve, it's not quite enough. That no matter how far you've come, the distance still ahead feels larger than the distance behind. That the version of yourself you're trying to become keeps moving, just slightly out of reach. Every time you get close, you hit the goal, you feel it for a moment, and then the goalposts shift. You get the thing you wanted. And almost immediately, the thing stops feeling like the thing. Most people interpret this as a personal failure, a sign that something is broken in them, that they're too ambitious or not grateful enough or fundamentally incapable of satisfaction. But here's what I want to show you. This feeling isn't a flaw. It's a feature. It was built into you on purpose by evolution, by neuroscience, and by a culture that learned exactly how to exploit it. You will never feel enough. Not because you aren't, but because your brain was never designed to let you. And understanding why changes everything. Let's start with the biology, because this is where it gets uncomfortable in the best possible way. Your brain runs on a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, the reward your brain gives you when something good happens. But that's not quite right. And the correction matters enormously. Dopamine is not the reward. Dopamine is the anticipation of the reward. It spikes when you're chasing something, when the outcome is uncertain, when the goal is close but not yet reached. And the moment you actually get the thing, the moment uncertainty resolves into achievement, dopamine drops. Not stays the same, drops. This is called the hedonic treadmill, the tendency for humans to return to a baseline level of satisfaction regardless of what they achieve or acquire. You get the promotion, you feel the spike, and within weeks, sometimes days, your emotional baseline resets. The new normal absorbs the achievement, and the brain starts looking for the next thing to anticipate. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes perfect sense. A brain that stayed satisfied after every achievement would stop striving, would stop hunting, building, competing, surviving. The dissatisfaction is the engine. Never feeling enough is what kept your ancestors alive. But here's the problem. You are not living in the environment your brain was designed for. You are living in a world that has taken this ancient mechanism and optimized it deliberately, precisely, ruthlessly, to keep you perpetually wanting it. The people who build the systems you live inside understand the hedonic treadmill better than most psychologists. Every platform, every product, every feed is architected around one insight. A brain that never feels enough is a brain that keeps coming back. Social media doesn't just show you what your friends are doing. It shows you a curated highlight reel of the most aspirational version of everyone's life, optimized to trigger the exact feeling that you are slightly behind, slightly less, slightly not enough. And it refreshes infinitely. So the comparison never stops and the gap never closes. The wellness industry sells you the idea that the right routine, the right supplement, the right practice will finally produce the feeling of being enough. And when it doesn't, and it never fully does, it sells you the next thing. Achievement culture tells you that enough is one more level up, one more credential, one more milestone. And when you reach it, the culture immediately reframes the ceiling as a new floor. None of this is accidental. The exploitation of your brain's inability to feel enough is one of the most profitable mechanisms ever discovered. And it works not because you're weak, but because the mechanism it targets is one of the most fundamental features of human neurobiology. You were handed a brain wired for perpetual wanting, and then placed inside a world designed to make sure that wanting never stops. But here's the layer underneath the biology. And this is the one that carries the most weight. For most people, the feeling of not enough doesn't stay in the realm of achievement. It migrates inward. It stops being about what you've done and starts being about who you are. I haven't done enough becomes I am not enough. Psychologists call this the internalization of inadequacy, the process by which external metrics of success become internal measures of worth. And once that migration happens, no achievement can fix it. Because the problem is no longer the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The problem is the story you're telling about what that gap means about you. This is where it gets quietly devastating for so many people. They work harder, achieve more, accumulate more evidence of their competence and value, and the feeling doesn't shift because they're trying to solve an identity problem with an achievement strategy. And it doesn't work. It was never going to work. The feeling of not being enough is not a scoreboard you can win. It's a story running underneath every scoreboard. And until you examine the story itself, you can run forever and never arrive. I want to be honest here. I have felt this in ways I couldn't name for years. The quiet suspicion that despite everything, I was still somehow not quite the thing I was supposed to be. And the more I achieved, the louder it got. Key, because each new level raised the standard against which I was measuring myself. That's not ambition. That's a wound wearing ambition's clothes. So here's what I want to reveal to you, because this is not a video about despair. It's a video about the precise nature of the mechanism, and precision is the beginning of freedom. The feeling of not enough is not the truth about who you are. It is a neurological process happening inside you, ancient, impersonal, and completely indifferent to your actual value as a human being. Your brain cannot feel enough. That is its design. But you are not your brain's automatic outputs. You are the awareness that can observe those outputs, name them, and choose how to respond to them. There's a distinction, a crucial one, between the experience of the feeling and the meaning you assign to it. The feeling will come. It is built in. But the interpretation that the feeling means you're lacking, that it means you should want more, that it means there is something wrong with you, that interpretation is not built in. That is learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. The people who seem most at peace, not the ones performing contentment, but genuinely settled in themselves, aren't people who solve the feeling. They're people who stopped letting the feeling write the story about who they are. They feel the want, they notice the gap, and they do not conclude from it that they are broken. That shift from I feel not enough to my brain is producing the feeling of not enoughness is the most important cognitive reframe I have ever encountered. It doesn't eliminate the feeling, but it changes its address, moves it from identity to experience, from who you are to something that is happening inside you. Now let me give you something practical, because revelation without application is just sadness with better vocabulary. The first thing, stop chasing the feeling of enough as if it's a destination. It isn't. The hedonic treadmill does not have a finish line. The goal is not to finally feel enough. The goal is to stop requiring that feeling in order to live fully. These are completely different orientations, and only one of them is achievable. The second thing, build a relationship with intrinsic value rather than external metrics. What this means practically is identify the things you do that feel meaningful, independent of outcome. Not the things that make you feel enough when they go well, the things that feel worth doing even when they don't. That's where your actual values live. And living from your values rather than toward a feeling of validation is the closest thing to sustainable peace that I've found. The third thing, and this is the hardest, is to practice receiving. Most people who carry the not enough wound are also very bad at letting good things land. A compliment deflected, an achievement immediately relativized, a moment of genuine satisfaction immediately followed by the question of what's next. Practice letting things land, not performing gratitude, actually pausing long enough for the good thing to register before the brain moves to the next want. That pause is a form of resistance against the treadmill. Small, deliberate, and quietly radical. Here's the truth I want to leave you with. And I mean this without a single gram of false comfort. You will never feel enough. Not in the way your brain keeps promising, not permanently, not as a stable resting state that achievement finally delivers. And that's not the tragedy it sounds like, because the feeling of enough was never the point. It was always the carrot, the neurological fiction that kept the engine running. The people who spend their lives chasing it don't find it. They find the next version of it, slightly further away, slightly better dressed. But the people who understand the mechanism, who see the treadmill for what it is, they stop running toward the carrot and start asking a different question. Not, when will I finally be enough? But, enough for what? Enough for whom? Enough by whose definition? And in that question, something opens up. Because the answer has never been determined by a feeling. It's been determined by a choice. The choice of what you value, how you live, what you give, what you build, who you love, and how you show up. Not when you finally feel ready, but right now, exactly as you are. You are not broken because you never feel enough. You are human. Perfectly, completely, frustratingly human. And that was always the whole thing.